Yeah, just under 10 minutes away from the start, 11:30 for the top of the order. And this week's Grand Prix Qualifier, sponsored by JTWG. 54 to show for round one. First round time allowed at 81 seconds. Again, top of the order at 11:30 this morning. 8 minutes from now. Top of the order at the gate. If you would please wrap up your walk and clear the course. 54 to show for today's $62,500 Grand Prix Qualifier, sponsored by JTWG. JTWG Equestrian Services is one of Wellington International's most diversified and effective partners. The company, which is family-owned and operated, has extensive experience with building world-class riding arenas, as well as managing complicated maintenance projects for any size and any type of facility. With extensive and worldwide connections, the professionals at JTWG are your one-stop shop for property upgrades and project management. We'll see 54 for the first round of competition. That first round course, numbered 1 through 13 at 16 jumping efforts in total, triple combination at 5, double at 8. And our time allowed for the first round at 81 seconds for today's Grand Prix Qualifier. First runner-up for the JTWG Grand Prix Qualifier, Ireland's Ginny Rankin. The rider board Ibiza, owned by Trinity Partners. First of our 54 combinations for round 1. Reference time 79.56 makes it within the 81-second time allowed for round 1 of today's Grand Prix Qualifier. 4 faults coming up at number 11, the JTWG Oxerdown of Ireland's Ginny Rankin and Ibiza. Wilton Porter for the Sleepy Pea Ranch. The U.S. rider aboard is Sternmarka. First reference time 79.56 coming in there from Ginny Rankin and Ibiza. 8 for jumping, 2 on the clock, a total of 10 for Wilton Border and Sternmarka. Time 82.79. Ashley Vogel up next for Voquest LLC with Otis Blue, our third in the order for the JTWG Grand Prix Qualifier. And knockdowns at 7 and 11 for Ashley Vogel, Otis Blue. Score of 8, time 80.21. First round time allowed staying at 81 seconds for today's Grand Prix qualifier. Laura Crott up next in the order with Emeraldo 4. It's our fourth. The show stars in stripes entry. That's a clear round for Laura Crott. Emeraldo 4 at 78.29, our first combination to go clear. Round 1 of today's JTWG Grand Prix qualifier. Winning round format for the qualifier this week, so it's the top 12 to come back for round number 2. Lebanon Jadana up next in the order. Carl W. riding today for Peter Howard and Laura Sudro. If we're jumping at 5B and 1 on the clock for Lebanon Danakaro W. Total of 5, the time 81:25. Canadian rider Kira Chad up next with her own Igor GPH. Owner rider out of Millerville, Alberta, our 6th to get the start for the JTWG Grand Prix Qualifier. Clear clock stops at 79:23 for Kira Chad and the Igor GP8. A second to go clear. Slower of those two goes into second in our standings here for the JTWG Grand Prix Qualifier. Winner from the Bay Bridge Meter 40 stake this morning, Venezuela's Luis Fernando Larrazabal now for Victoria Temante with the Condara. 7th to go. A pair clears early here for round 1. One from Laura Kraut with Emeraldo 4. One from Kara Chad with Igor GPH. Our third to go clear, and the quickest of those at 75.98 for Venezuela's Luis Fernando Larrazabal with Condora. That'll take the lead in round one. Lower crowd in second, Carrot Chad in third. Brazil's Luciano Locio next with Lady Luis. On a rudder, our eighth to go for round one. Yeah, knocked down at 8A. Flyby at number 12 and 9 on the clock as well. 17 the total for Luciano Locio and Lady Luis. USA's TJ Omar up for Stonehenge Stables, Ocean, New Jersey with Ona Van de Helle. Yeah, 10 the total for TJ O'Mara and Ona Van de Helle. 8 on the field, 2 on the clock at 82.36. Our 10th this show, USA's Mia Bagnado with Baliasco Big Bucks, owned by the Alon Farm in Newark, New Jersey. Clear out at 80.72 from you, Bagnato, Baleal, Skill, Big Bucks are fourth to go clear. And it goes into fourth on the standings. Currently, Luis Fernando Larrazabal, the quickest of our clears at 75.98 with Condora. Arliss Christian Coyle now with Extravaganza Semilly, the ride for Alexis Bodo of Nashville, Tennessee. And the 4 foot's coming in at 8A for Christian Coyle and Extravaganza Semilly. Second fastest 4, currently in 6th place. There's our 12th in the order for the JTWG Grand Prix Qualifier today. The USA's Kent Farrington with Mila, owned by High T McNerney. Clear round 78.08 for Kent Farrington and Mila goes into second in the standings. Our fifth to go clear through the first 12 in round one of today's Grand Prix qualifier, brought to you by JTWG. Luis Fernando Larrazabal and Condara leading 75.98, the quickest of our clear times. Kent Farrington goes into second there. Laura Kropp currently in third. And Carrie Chatham back not also with penalty-free efforts here, but it's the top 12 as it is winning round format for today's Grand Prix qualifier. And so the times could become important here later on in round number one. Michael Hutchinson, our next to go, and the Irish rider is aboard La Balmy W. JR Show Stables entry 13th in the order. Michael Hutchinson, La Balmy W, taking fence number 2 again and retiring in round 1. Out of Frankfort, Illinois, the USA's Ashley Mile joins us next with her own Conru. $79.46 with the 4 faults. The knockdown at the ETN vertical at number 7 for Ashley Miles and Conru. Ireland Simon McCarthy, our 15th up for the JTWG Grand Prix qualifier. This is Leonardo S., owned by Cedar Fox, Woodside, California. Four at the wall, 2 against the clock for Simon McCarthy, Leonardo S. That time 82-83, total of 6 for the Irishman. Code Red 6 up next, shown by the owner, German rider René Dittmer. Yeah, through 15, we have 5 that are penalty-free. Luis Fernando Larrazabal currently the leader in the class with Condara. On that time of 75.98, Ken Farrington and Mila in a second. Laura Kraut sitting in third with Emeraldo 4. Kira Chatmia Bagnato also with Clear sitting in 4th and 5th place respectively here for the JTWG Grand Prix Qualifier. Unfortunately, the second disobedience there calls for elimination. Natalie Leibovitz up next with Kiss Me, our 17th to go. Entry on by Natalie Leibovitz and 3 Graces Dressage. Natalie Leibovitz and Kiss Me faulting at 4 fences, so 1 penalty on the clock as well at 81-89. Total of 17. Alessandra Volpe up next. The U.S. rider is aboard High Loma Inn, owned by Cedar Fox, Woodside, California. .98 on the clear round there for Alessandra Volpe. High Loma Inn, our 6th to go clear, goes into 6th. And our standings here for the JTWG Grand Prix Qualifier. Luis Fernando Latazamo leads with Condara. Fastest clear round is 75.98. Kent Farrington, 2nd. Laura Kraut in 3rd. We have 6 that are clear now through the first 18. Margie Engel up next with Jack of Hearts. Glade wins farm entry for the U.S. Show Jumping Hall of Famer. .78.60, just the 4 faults coming at 8.8 for Margie Engel and Jack of Hearts. Ireland's Philip McQuaid, our 20th for round 1 of the Grand Prix Qualifier this week. Orphea HQ, the ride for the Irishman owned by Evergate Stables. Clear it is, 79.25 for Ireland's Philip McGuane in the Evergate Stables entry order FA HQ. 7 clear now. That goes into 5th in our standings. And Luis Fernando Larrazabal still our fastest clear round in first with Condara at 75.98. Through the first 20, 75.98 into clear a best effort and currently in 12th. Cut off a score of 5.81.25 that time. Jad Danacaro W is sitting in that 12th place spot currently. Lily Keenan up next with Chili Pepper HMZ. Chance in that farm entry. The knockdown at 8 to B in the time of 82.04 yields 2 against the clock there for Lily Keenan. Chili Pepper HMZ. It goes into 13th at this point, just outside of our top 12 here for the JTWG Grand Prix Qualifier. Another for Ireland. This is Jordan Coyle with the Alon Farms King Canan GP. First to 5 before midway break in round 1 of today's Grand Prix Qualifier presented by JTWG. Just the 4 faults there for Ireland's Jordan Coyle, King Canan GP. It is our fastest 4 faulter here in the first round of 78.32. Goes into 8th place for the Irish rider in the Alon Farm entry. Does bump Jadana and Carl W from our top 12. So scores of 4 and clear, currently occupying those top 12 spots in our standings. For round number 1. We'll see a few more before midway break. Connor Swell next with Casterano. Irishman first to 4 before the midway break. Yeah, 4 in the field, 11 for Tom, 15 the total there for Connor Swill and Castellano. Mexico's Eugenio Garza and El Milagros Cheleris PS. $79-73. It's a fault-free first round for Mexico's Eugenio Garza and Cheleris PS. It goes into 6th in our standings. Also bumps Christian Coyle from our top 12, putting Jenny Rankin and Ibiza down that 12th place spot on a score of 4 and a time of 79-56. 8 clear through the first 24. Shane Sweetnam joins us next with Corian van Klapschut Z, owned by Shane Sweetnam and VoQuest LLC. Penalty free, it's our second fastest clear at 77.70. Goes into second of Ireland, Shane Sweetenham with Corian van Klapshoot Z. Venezuela's Luis Fernando Larrazabal with our quickest to clear time at 75.98 aboard Condara. That pushes Ashley Miles into that 12th place spot on the 4 fault score at a time of 79.46 with Conroe. 9 clear, our 3 fastest 4 faulters rounding out the top 12 currently here for the first round. We'll see one more before midway break. Tiffany Foster will be that final, and it's Battle Cry owned by Artisan Farms and Kent Farrington LLC. Knocked down at the double for the score, 78.75. The time goes into 12th for Tiffany Foster and a Battle Cry by Artisan Farms and Ken Farrington LLC. Through 26, we have 9 that are fault-free. Luis Fernando Larrazabal, the quickest of those with Condara at 75.98. He leads the way currently. Shane Sweetenham in second with Corian van Klapshoot Z, Kent Farrington, and Mila third in our standings. And 9 are clear, our 3 fastest 4 falters in 10th, 11th, and 12th. That's Jordan Coyle with King Kanan GP, Margie Ingle with Jack of Hearts, and then we just saw Tiffany Foster going into 12th with Battle Cry. We're going to take a timeout for a touch-up. We'll be back underway with another 27 to go in today's Grand Prix Qualifier, sponsored by JTWG. We've seen 26, another 27 on the first round list for today's Grand Prix Qualifier, sponsored by JTWG. Venezuela's Luis Fernando Larrazabal and Victoria Hertamantes Condar, our best combination through the first 26 here in round number one. Clear 75.98, leading the way. Shane Sweetenham, Kent Farrington, second and third. A total of 9 clears occupying those top 12 spots currently. Winning round format for today's Grand Prix Qualifier, top 12 to come back for the second round a little later on this afternoon. We'll get back underway with Alexandra Worthington, the U.S. rider. It shows Return of Blind Eye, LLC, Las Vegas, Nevada. This is De Loiselier, first of 27 remaining for today's Grand Prix Qualifier, sponsored by JTWG. For jumping, one time fought at 81.67 for Alexandra Worthington and De Loiselier. USA's Blythe Caroli with us now aboard at Teoduke TNLZ. Blythe with the ride for Olivia Venezio. The Palm Tree Ox are at 6, and the Wall at 9 for Blythe Caroli Teoduk TNLZ. 79-33 the time on a score of 8. Charlie Jones joins us next with Capital 6 on our Morningstar Sport Horses, Woodland, California. Yeah, for Great Britain's Charlie Jones, just the 4-fault to fence number 6 with Capital 6. Time is 78.23, goes into 10th place in our standings. That's our fastest 4-faulter. Does bump Tiffany Foster from our top 12 with a Battle Cry. Marjango now on the cutoff with a Jack of Hearts on the 4-fault at 78.60. Venezuela's Luis Fernando Laratabo still leads our fastest clear time, 75.98 with Victoria Urtamate's Condora. Our 30th to take up the challenge is the USA Spencer Smith with Ashland Farms and Stormridge Capital owned entry, Keeneland. Spencer Smith, 30th to go. 12 jumping at 3 on the clock for Spencer Smith and Keeneland. Total of 15. Will Simpson next. The right for Elizabeth Phillips of Aiken, South Carolina with MR. $80.12 on the 4 faults there for Will Simpson and the Elizabeth Phillips entry MR. Still with the 9 clear, and our 3 fastest 4s in those 10th, 11th, and 12th place spots. Great Britain's Charlie Jones, Ireland's Jordan Coyle, USA's Margie Engel, 10th, 11th, and 12th currently. Lenara O'Reilly Heiler, next combination to get the start for the Grand Prix qualifier. The U.S. Rider board an entry owned by Kurt Heiler of Boston, Massachusetts. Four for jumping, 3 on the clock, a total of 7 for O'Reilly Heiler and Lenara. Next on chorus will be Argentina's Luis Pedro Bitterben with his and Miguel Madero's Vasco 109. Best time so far and leading the way, Luis Fernando Larrazabal and Condara at 75.98. Shane Sweetnam in second, Kent Farrington in third. Margie Engel, our current cutoff in that 12th spot on a score of 4 and a time of 78.60. Clear out 78.90 for Argentina's Luis Pedro Ritterben, our 10th rider to go clear. It goes into 5th. And our standings here for the Grand Prix Qualifier sponsored by JTWG. That does bump Margie Engel from our top 12 with the Jack of Hearts. Margie now in 13th as Jordan Coyle moves on to the bubble with King Kanan JP on a score of 4 and a time of 78.32. Still Luis Fernando Larrazabal as the leader with Condara at 75.98 and penalty free. Michaela Langmeyer now with Pepita Vanderola Bake owned by the Rafferty Farm. First of 20 remaining in round 1. 10 clear, 2 fastest fours rounding out the top 12, Charlie Jones and Jordan Coyle. Knocked down at 8B, and the JTWG Ox are at 11 down as well. 8 the score for Michaela Langmeyer and Pepita Vanderola Bake. USA's Chris Uwanowski will be our 35th to go for round 1. The Rider Border Polo jump entry, New Jersey, Vandeneur Duville. The four faults at 80.39 for Chris Uwanowski and New Jersey Van Nordeville. Peter Lutz and Gatriona owned by Loftus to Terry. Clear for Peter Lutz. Catriona at 79.44 goes into 8th in the standings with another 17 to go for round 1. So 11 clear to this point, and just our fastest four-faulter, Great Britain's Charlie Jones, holding on to that top or to that 12th spot with a Capital 6 owned by Morningstar Sport Horses. Venezuela's Luis Fernando Larotabo still leads with Condara, 75.98, the best time in the first round so far. Mexico's Tony Mario Macari next with Dax at 68, the first of our 17 remaining combinations. The last one down, it's Ford number 13, one on the clock as well. 81.82 that time for Tony Mario Macari and Dax 68. Canada's Chris Pratt on course next with Ideali Yes, owned by Take the High Road LLC. It's a clear for Chris Pratt. EDL ES goes into 9th, and our top 12 are all fault-free riders at this point. For today's Grand Prix Qualifier, sponsored by JTWG. Luis Fernando Larrazabal still leads with Condara at 75.98. Alessandro Volpi now in that 12th spot with High Loma in a cleared 80.98. And that cutoff spot here. Another 15 to go before we set for the second round. Belgium's Nicola Philipparts now with the Canucca de Muse on a rider, our first of 15 remaining. Just the four faults, 79.08 for Nicola Philipparts, Canucca de Muse. Cormac Hanley and Fredad, a Heathman Farm entry for the Irishman. A score of 12 for Cormac Hanley and Fredad. We've seen 40 so far, top 12 all clear riders. Luis Fernando Larrazabal leads at 75.98. Alessandro Volpi in 12th, occupying that last spot for the second round at 80.98. Luis Sabino Gonçalves up next, a Portuguese rider showing for Sigma Stables in Ocala with Group de Septon Z. It's clear. It goes into 6th for Portugal's Luis Sabino Gonçalves with Scoop de Septon Z. Luis Fernando Larrazabal, Shane Sweetnam, Kent Farrington still our top 3. Laura Kraut 4th. Luis Pedro Bitterben in 5th. Mia Bagnato drops down into that 12th place spot as Alessandro Volpi gets bumped from our top 12 with High Aloma in. So the cutoff currently, a clear time of 80.72. Mia Bagnato, Baliasco, Big Bucks in 12th place. Bliss Ears with Petit Gervais. Bridgeside Farms entry for the U.S. rider. First of 12 remaining for round 1. Faulting at 6 fences, 4 penalties on the clock as well for a total of 28. Canadian Sean Jobin aboard the Sterderhof's Edenus, owned by Antrim Equestrian in Schomberg, Ontario. The Palm Beach County Sports Commission skinny at 12 down for Canada. Sean Jobin and Sterderhof's Edenus. 4 on the clock as well at 84.30 for a total of 8. Tone sounds for the USA's Richard Neal and his own Cademaco LS. First of 10 remaining for round 1. Score 12 to finish up there for Richard Neal and Cademaco LS. Kelly Irani partnered with the Marigot Bay Farms at Ballerina Huem. First of 9 remaining for round 1. Yeah, 24 for jumping, 1 on the clock, a total of 25. Another 8 to go before we set for the second round this afternoon. And today's a JTWG Grand Prix Qualifier. Luis Fernando Larrazabo with our best effort out of the 45 that have gone so far. Leads with Condor at 75.98. Currently with that last spot in the second round, it's Mia Bagnato currently slated to come back first with Baliaskill Big Bucks on that cutoff. Clear at 80.72. Anna Dryden will get the start next for today's Grand Prix Qualifier. Double Meadows G entry for the U.S. rider. This is Knight van de Kakkelhoek. So for jumping 2 on the clock, 14 the score there for Anna Dryden and Knight van de Kakkelhoek. Sloan Coles next with Limoncello Z, owned by the Limoncello Z Group, the Plains, Virginia, 29.77. First of 7 remaining for the first round in the Grand Prix Qualifier this week. $79.05 on the 4 faults for Sloan Coles Limoncello Z. Chloe Reed and crossover 4 next, owned by Team Reed LLC. First of our 6 remaining combinations for round 1. Clear, and our second quickest clear at 76.49 for Chloe Reed goes into second in our standings. And so Luis Fernando Latotabo still with that coveted spot, leading the way. Expected to return last for the second round with Condara. With that clear round coming in from Chloe Reed, it does bump Mia Bagnato from our top 12 with Baleaskill Big Bucks and puts Eugenio Garza in that 12th spot with Charleries PS. Current cutoff now, a clear round at 79.73. Riders must do better than that in order to qualify in our top 12 for the second round in today's Grand Prix qualifier. Another 5 to go. It's Egypt's Nile Nasser with Evergate Stables entry Coronado. First to 5. $80.35, it's clear, but it just misses our top 12 there for Egypt's Nile Nasser with the Coronado. Goes into 13th place. Will certainly qualify for the Grand Prix, but unfortunately it won't make it for our top 12 here in the second round this afternoon for our Grand Prix qualifier. Spain's Juan Manuel Gallego and Oriana Vanna Reutershoff on by Ángela González del Valle. First to 4. 79.73, the time to beat to make it into the top 12. Juan Manuel Gallego and Oriana Vanna Reutershoff for retiring in the first round of our Grand Prix qualifier. 3 more before we set for the second round. This is Ireland's Paul O'Shea with Team Eye Candy's Primo CBI Cornet. Clear, and that's into the lead for Paul O'Shea Primo CBI Cornet. Luis Fernando Larrazabal had the fastest time for 44 of the 51 starters so far. He goes into second now with Condara as the Irishman. Paul O'Shea with Team Eye Candy's Primo CBI Cornet now in pole position, that last spot in the second round. Chris Pratt goes into 12th. He's currently slated to come back first with Ideal ES, but another 2 to go. That could possibly shake up this top 12 standings for today's Grand Prix qualifier presented by JTWG. Savannah Jenkins now for proper 12, Simi Valley, California with Sanella 6. First to 2. Just the 4 faults, 8B, 7906 for Savannah Jenkins and Sanella 6. And just the one left in round 1, and that's Ecuador's Ana Cristina Gansauer with Loyalton, owned by the Candor Farm, Ocala, Florida. In order to make the top 12, 79.46 is the time to beat. 8 for jumping, 7 on the clock for a total of 15 for Ecuadorian Ana Cristina Gansauer and Loyalton. That was our final combination for the first round in today's Grand Prix qualifier, sponsored by JTWG. Winning round format for the qualifier this week, so it's the top 12 from this first round to come back for round number 2 this afternoon. One of our riders with a drawing from the jump off. We will not see Peter Lutz back with Catriona. The U.S. rider opting out of the bonus round here with the Lufstis to Terry entry. So we'll see 11 of the top 12 back. It'll be Chris Pratt to return first with Ideal ES, owned by Take the High Road LLC, followed by Ireland's Philip McGuane and the Evergate Stables entry Orfea HQ. Kara Chad will go third in our callback with Igor GPH. Fourth will be Luis Sabino Gonçalves with Scoop de Septon Z, owned by Sigma Stables. Fifth in the winning round to order Luis Pedro Bitterben and Vasco 109. And that'll be followed by Laura Kraut with Emeraldo 4. And then Kent Farrington with Mila. Shane Sweetnam aboard Accordion Van Clapshoot to Z. Chloe Reed with Crossover 4. It'll be Luis Fernando Larazzapo and Condara in that 10th spot in the second round. And Paulo Shea will come back last. The Irishman aboard Team Out Candy's Primo CBI Cornet. Today's $62,500 Grand Prix qualifier is sponsored by JTWG, one of Wellington International's most diversified and effective partners. The company, which is family-owned and operated, has extensive experience with building world-class riding arenas as well as managing complicated maintenance projects for any size and type of facility. With extensive and worldwide connections, the professionals at JTWG are your one-stop shop for property upgrades and project management. We'll be back underway in just a few minutes. 11 to go. And the winning round of today's Grand Prix qualifier, sponsored by JTWG. So to get back underway, winning round ahead of us for today's Grand Prix Qualifier presented by JTWG. With the winning round format, it's the top 12 from the first round that come back for the second round. One of those combinations withdrawing from the bonus round here. Peter Lutz Catriona will not return. So we'll get back underway with Canada's Chris Pratt as the first of our 11 riders in the second round this afternoon. For Take the High Road LLC with Edie Alias, for Canada's Chris Pratt, our first of 11. With the four, number 6, the time 42:45 over the short course for Canada's Chris Pratt and Edie Alias. Ireland's Philip McGuane, our second on course, and Orphea HQ, our next entry up for the winning round. To Evergate Stables entry for the Irishman. $41.90, it's clear for Ireland's Philip McGuane and Orphea HQ. Irishman setting the pace with the Evergate Stables entry with the second of our 11 on course for the winning round this afternoon. Another Canadian in the callback. This is Kara Chad with her own Igor GPH. Ireland's Philip McGuane leads for Evergate Stables with Orphea HQ. The time to beat is 41.90. Unfortunately, our rider off course, jumping fence number 10 to finish up the round instead of the ETN Oxer at 16. As Philip McGuane still leads, only clear effort over the short course so far with the Evergate Stables entry Orfea HQ. The Irishman posting a time of 41.90. Our next challenger from Portugal, this is Luis Sabino Gonçalves with a ride for Sigma Stables in Ocala with Scoop de Septonzi. $41.90, leading time set by Philip McGuane in the Evergate Stables entry Orfea HQ. $41.77 with the 4 faults there had the time. Portugal's Luis Sabino Gonçalves and Scoop de Septonzi. But with the 4 going into second as the quicker of the 2 fours to complete. And today's Grand Prix Qualifier brought to you by JTWG. Through 4 of the 11 expected back, it's Philip McGuane with our only clear effort aboard the Evergate Stables entry Orfea HQ. The leading time is at 41.90 as Argentina's Luis Pedro Bitterben returns with Vasco 109. Four faults at 43.22 goes into 4th for Luis Pedro Bitterben and Vasco 109. Knockdown on the jump off coming at fence number 6. Philip McGuane still leads through 5 of the 11 with our only clear time of 41.90 with the Evergate Stables entry Orfea HQ. Laura Crowd is our next challenger. The ride for Stars and Stripes with Emeraldo 4. 41.90, the time to beat. Just a little quicker there at 41.76, less than 0.2 of a second, but it's good enough to take the lead for Laura Kraut with the Stars and Stripes entry Emeraldo 4. Laura Kraut leads. Ireland's Philip McGuane is second. Portugal's Luis Sabino Gonçalves, our fastest 4 falter, sitting in third. Another 5 to go, and it's Kent Farrington as the first of those 5 with Heidi McNerney's Mila. Time to beat is 41.76. Four faults at 40.91. It is our fastest to 4 falter. In fact, the fastest time we've seen over the course here in the second round for today's Grand Prix qualifier. But with the 4 there for Kent Farrington and Mila with that knockdown coming at 8B. On the time of 40.91, it goes into third as our fastest 4. Laura Kraut leads. Philip McGuane second. Kent Farrington in third. Ireland Shane Sweetnam joins us next with his and Voquest Corian van Klapshoot Z. Best clear time 41.76 at Laura Kraut and Emeraldo 4. New leader in at 41.16, Ireland Shane Sweetnam with Corian van Klapshoot Z. Shaves a little more than a half a second off of that time from Laura Kraut with Emeraldo 4 as the U.S. Olympian goes into second to Philip McGuane. Another Irish rider in our top 3 holding down that third spot with the Evergate Stables entry Orphea HQ. Another 3 to go before we present to our top 3. We welcome the USA's Chloe Reed back on course with crossover 4 owned by Team Reed LLC. New target at 41.16, just set by Shane Sweetnam and Corian van Klapshoot Z. $41.91. Clear round for Chloe Reed. Crossover 4 goes into 4th for the U.S. rider. Bumping our fastest 4 falter. Kent Farrington down to 5th with Mila. Top 3 unchanged. Shane Sweetenham, Laura Kraut, Philip McGuane with another 2 to go. There are 2 fastest combinations from the first round still to compete over the short course here. This is Venezuela's Luis Fernando Larrazabal with Victoria Ertemante's Condara. Shane Sweetenham leads with his and VoQuest's Corian Van Klapshoot Z on a time of 41.16. Clearing into the lead at 40.08. Luis Fernando Larrazabal, a full second and change, quicker than Shane Sweetenham with Corian Van Klapshoot Z. The Venezuelan now takes the lead with the Victoria Ertemanté entry. Shane Sweetenham goes into 2nd, Laura Kraut, and 3rd, Philip McGuane, Chloe Reed rounding out our top 5 with just our fastest combination from the first round to compete. As Ireland's Paul O'Shea for Team Eye Candy with Primo CBI Cornet. Time to beat 40.08. Four faults at number 9. It'll finish in 7th as our second fastest 4 faulter there for Ireland's Paul O'Shea with Team Eye Candy's Primo CBI Cornet. Top call will go to Venezuela's Luis Fernando Larrazabal, his second win on the Derby field today. He took the top call in our Bainbridge Company's Open Meter 40 stake this morning with a Victoria Ertemanté entry. Now the win with Condara at 40.08. This entry also owned by Victoria Ertemanté for the Venezuelan. Ireland's Shane Sweetenham second with his and VoQuest's Corian Van Klapshoot Z. Third award will go to Laura Kraut, riding Emeraldo 4 for Stars and Stripes. Philip McGuane takes 4th with Orfei HQ, owned by Evergate Stables. 5th award goes to Chloe Reed and Team Reed's at Crossover 4. Our fastest 4 falter and the winning round to Kent Farrington 6th with Mila, owned by Heidi McNerney. Paul O'Shea 7th for Team Eye Candy with the Primo CBI Cornet. Portugal's Luis Sabino Gonçalves and the Sigma Stables entry Scoop de Septon Z take 8th. Canadian Chris Pratt 9th with Ideal ES owned by Take the High Road LLC. 10th for Argentina's Luis Pedro Bitterman and Vasco 109 owned by the Argentinian rider and Miguel Madero. And 2 tied in 11th for today's Grand Prix qualifier. Kira Chad with Igor GPH, Canadian rider out of Millville, Alberta, and Peter Lutz with Loves to Dairies Catriona. Those 2 tied in 11th for our standings today in the Grand Prix Qualifier, brought to you by JTWG. Get our top three back for the presentation here in just a moment. Today's $62,500 Grand Prix Qualifier sponsored by JTWG. JTWG Equestrian Surfaces is one of Wellington International's most diversified and effective partners. The company, which is family-owned and operated, has extensive experience with building world-class riding arenas as well as managing complicated maintenance projects for any size and type of facility. With extensive and worldwide connections, the professionals at JTWG are your one-stop shop for property upgrades and project management. Our top three back with us. We'll ask our third place rider to come forward to the JTWG Oxer, and it'll be U.S. Olympian Laura Kraut as our first to return for photos. Laura takes third place honors this afternoon. The ride for Stars and Stripes. Third award aboard Emeraldo 4 for the USA's Laura Kraut. Clear today at 41.76, the winning round time. Congratulations again to Laura Kraut, third with Emeraldo 4 for today's Grand Prix Qualifier, brought to you by JTWG. Second place rider now, Shane Sweetnamo with the Red Rosette this afternoon with his and VoQuest, Corian van Klapshoot Z 41.16, and clear over the short course for the Irishman, finishing second. And today's $62,500 Grand Prix Qualifier. It's the second win on the Derby field today for Venezuela's Luis Fernando Larrazabal. Took the top call in our Bainbridge Company's Open Meter 40 stake this morning. And now the win for Victoria Urtamante in our Grand Prix Qualifier with Condor. Laura Kraut third with Emeraldo 4, Shane Sweetnam second with Corian van Klapshoot Z, and Venezuela's Luis Fernando Larrazabal picks up his second win of the day with Condora, owned by Victoria Urtamante, a winning rider in today's $62,500 JTWG Grand Prix Qualifier. Does wrap us up for the day on the Derby field. We are slated for an 8 o'clock start on Friday morning with the Meter 40 Junior Amateur Jumper, sponsored by Brain Juice.